In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, bringing you a brand new segment here, Stephen's Soapbox, where I'm about to go into, it's going to be an on-time segment here. I'm about to get into my hardcore thoughts when it comes down to things that involve Alabama football. So, folks, here we go. I don't understand. I really don't understand why people have labeled me as the Bryce Young hater. It doesn't matter where I go to. I could go on Facebook, I could go on Twitter, I could go on YouTube, and people are always putting my name, Stephen M. Smith, and beside it, it's he hates Bryce Young. He doesn't like Bryce Young. He has something against Bryce Young. He doesn't want Bryce Young to succeed. He doesn't want Bryce Young to excel. And that statement could not be any further. That statement is so far from the truth because in actuality, I really like Bryce Young. In actuality, I really want to see the young man succeed. In actuality, you have heard me state on this show about how I love his talent. I love his ability. He's got some magic in him. He's got a lot of playmaking ability in him. I have said nothing to disparage or drop shame or drop any type of negativity on his character, on his skill set, on his playmaking ability, on him as a player or as a person. I've never said anything out of the way discouraging when it comes down to Bryce Young. To me, I've always been fairly encouraging of the young man. My thing has always been, and it will continue to be this way, is when we consume Alabama football, you as fans, I myself in the media, we consume Tide football. And since we consume the sport, since we are so entangled in this sport, since we are so invested when it comes down to time, money, emotions, memorabilia, tickets, travel, games, we are so invested in the sport. My thought process has always been, if you are a die-hard Alabama fan, if I was to cut your skin and your blood came out of you and your blood would spill on the ground, Crimson Tide football, then it is your responsibility as a fan and my responsibility in media to know everything about the team, to be concerned about everything when it comes down to the team. Because you have to ask yourself, if you are not inquisitive, if you do not want to know every nook and cranny about what's going on with your football team, are you really doing yourself the due diligence as a fan? You have to ask yourself that question. Am I really doing my due diligence in the media? If I'm not being inquisitive, if I'm not asking questions, if I'm not being concerned, if I don't want to know everything that's going on within the confines of the University of Alabama football program, I would not be doing my due diligence in the media. So I've always been one to want to know how everybody's doing, because you need all hands on deck. This is why I talk about Paul Tyson. This is why I talk about Jalen Milroe, not to bring any type of disparagement or discouragement toward Bryce Young. It's because you need all hands on deck. And we saw this last year. Nobody could have predicted Jalen Waddle getting hurt. Nobody knew Jalen Waddle was going to get hurt. Nobody saw that coming. But we needed to have Slade Bolden ready. We needed to have John Mechie ready. Nobody saw Landon Dickerson getting hurt in the SEC championship against Florida. Nobody could have predicted that. Nobody could have saw that. Nobody could have witnessed that. But we needed to have Chris Owens ready to go. All hands on deck. Nobody predicted Malachi Moore getting banged up. Nobody could know that Malachi Moore was going to get hurt. But we needed to have Brian Branch all hands on deck in those two playoff games. We need to have Paul Tyson and Jalen Milroe all hands on deck, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being concerned. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. There's nothing wrong with wanting to know about your program, especially if you are a fan of Bama. If you are a loyal supporter of Bama, then you need to know, is Paul Tyson ready? You need to know if Jalen Miro will be able to do that. You need to know these things because it's football. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to transpire. We don't know what's going to take place. You need to know what's going to happen. And I'll say this. To me, for all my parents out there that have more than one child, normally the child you don't overly talk about a lot. Yes, you talk about them. Yes, you're proud of them. Yes, you mention them. But the child that you just don't overly talk about a lot, and that child that does not bombard your mind with worries, with fears, is usually that child that's handling their business, that's handling their responsibility, that's handling their job. You don't have to worry about that child. It's that child that's constantly on your mind, that's constantly on your lips, that you constantly worried about, that you're constantly talking about, that you're constantly saying, Lord, my baby, I hope my girl get it. I hope that boy get his head on straight. I hope they don't end up in jail. I hope they don't end up something wrong with them. It's that child that you're so overly consumed by. That's the child that you spend the most time talking about. That's the child that you're worried about. And you can take the same logic and apply it to Alabama football. If you're not overly talking about, Bryce Young, it don't mean that you don't care about him. It don't mean he ain't good. That just means that he handling business. He doing his job. He's handling his craft. He's doing what he's supposed to do. Now, if you become overly talking about Bryce Young, if you become overly consumed about Bryce Young, then that opens the door to, well, is he really that good? Is he really that dominant? Is he really that elite? Is he really that great? I don't know. Because you keep talking about him time and time and time and time and time. If he's really that good, let that brother be. If he's really that good, let that brother show us. If he's really that good, he will prove to us. You don't have to overly discuss him. I mean, this, to me, goes back to Jalen and Tua, 2017 and 18. The quarterback situation that tore the fan base right down the middle. It was crazy how you can just say Jalen's name, just trying to give him props, and people would be like, oh, you hate Tua. Oh, you a Tua hater. Oh, you don't like greatness. Oh, you don't like dominance. Oh, you don't like winning. Oh, you don't like our offense being phenomenal because you keep bringing up this Jalen all the time. You're like, whoa, cuz. Don't kill me. Is it wrong that I'm concerned about Jalen? Is it wrong that I care about a player on the team? Is that wrong? It's the same thing. People would bring up Tua. And folks would be like, well, you don't care about Jalen, or you're a Jalen hater, or you don't love Jalen, or you ain't supporting Jalen. And you're like, whoa, am I wrong for being concerned about a brother on the team? Am I wrong for being inquisitive about something? Am I wrong in being a Bama fan for wanting to know how everybody's doing? And that thing hit the fan base so much to where we saw fall camp, the open practice in 2018, where Jalen Hurts has to address the elephant in the room on the field in front of a flock of media. It got so bad that it got back to the players, and Jalen Hurts had to come on the field, open practice. I was there, and he spoke on it in front of the media. I have always supported Bryce Young. I will continue to support Bryce Young. My thing has always been, if we're going to talk up one player, then let's encourage the other player. If we're going to show love to one player, then we need to show love to everybody. Because at Alabama, it's one team. And you never know what's going to happen, what's going to take place on a football field. Just because you sing the praises of one player does not automatically mean you're dissing another player. It don't mean that. It's never meant that. You can love and talk about one player while still having the same support of another player. That's my 2 cents per day. That's Steven Soapbox. Just had to get that off my chest. I've always been a supporter of Bryce. Never hated the man. Never disrespected the man. Just wanting to know how every Alabama player is doing.